What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the Let's Build the U.S.S. Voyager Season 1, Episode 39. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. Today we're going to be picking up where we left off, working on our engines. We're also going to be shifting over to working on the shelf, where our bridge will sit, and then we'll be coming back and we'll be adjusting the length of the front end of the pylons. So without further ado, let's go ahead, kick back, relax, and jump right into it. So you can see literally what we did here is that we just adjusted the template for the sides of the engines, going with a cut line. And this is going to work out so much better because it's going to blend in on the sides. The one and only downside to it is that it's when we get to the really the frame of the engines, there'll be like a gap here and there on the sides, but it's going to be, it'll look better than what we had before, put it that way. And I'm good with that, because I could have maybe sat here for a while coming up with a better template that would have worked, but after this is all said and done, it looks good enough that I'm happy enough to where I can move on from it. It doesn't, like, the shape of it isn't standing out to the point that I hate it. I can just get over it. Doesn't look bad. But really, the main change that we made was that instead of going like a pattern of two, we're just doing a single row. And that is going to make it easier in blending in the sides. Because if we would have kept that pattern of two, we would have had more gaps as we transitioned to the back of the engines. We would have had a lot more gaps. As opposed to just two gaps right there and there. That looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but the main thing is, does it look like Voyager's engines? It's the main question you need to ask yourself. Always envisioning how that should look, or in best case scenario, if you have that reference material to go off of, so that you can visually see it and compare the two. This is what I do all the time, you know. After I build something out, I stop, I let it marinate, I compare it to the reference material that I'm looking at, and I'm like, okay, does this work? Is this matching up? And if it doesn't, what do I need to do to make it match up more, you know? And somebody might ask, or like, well, how do you know how many layers to add? And to be honest with you, this is something that I'm honestly winging it. I'm seeing what the design needs. I'm probably not going to bring it out any further than the overall width of the engines. So that's kind of what my gauge will be as far as when to stop, because we don't want to continue this pattern going out where the front is getting wider than the core of the engines themselves. So that looks pretty good. We're going to do the same thing on the other engine. And of course, you want to make sure after we've done these steps, you hop over to the other engine here, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So basically what I'm working with right now, if I really wanted to, I could add one more row. But what I really like here is how this shape has developed in the front. It really has that Voyager feel to it. And this is, like, I'm telling you guys, take your time with this stuff. This is why my builds come out the way that they do. Because I'm willing to try new things, and I take my time to the point that I have enough time to let things marinate and try to maybe figure out what I want to do to get it to where we're following on right now. But that's looking pretty awesome. Yeah, we can get, I think we can get away with one more row. But past that, we've hit our limit. Because this row that we're adding right now is going to come right up to the lip of the sides of the core of the ship, or the core of the engines. If you try to do anything more than this, then the front of your engines are going to end up being wider than the rest of your engines. So this is why I say this is our stopping point. This is how you know that you've hit your limit on your blending point for the sides. Some of you might decide, like, well, I kind of like it a little bit more with maybe a lip on the sides and not adding this extra row. I say go for it. That's what you want to do it, you know. And if you come up with a different way of building these out, post your pictures in Discord. We don't have enough people posting their variations of their ship builds as far as their customization that they do. There are some people that do it, but not as many as you'd think. So if you're one of those where you're making some alterations to this, look, I'm not somebody that gets offended by it. As long as you're not coming in there telling me that my build is crap and yours is the best thing since sliced bread and you're cool about it, you'd be very surprised with how positive people will, well, how positive and encouraging people in the Discord will be. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. We're honestly at a point that we could even fill in the sides and just bring that all the way back. And we're still not done with the engines. We have to close in this gap here all the way, and then we have to develop the ass end of the engines. Excuse my language, I don't know what else to say it, like the back end of it, I guess. But yeah, the ass end of the engines, we have to close that in. But we're not going to be doing that in today's episode. That's something that we'll be circling back to. The reason that we're not going to be working on that right now is because I'm still not set on the length of the core middle part of Voyager, and I have to get that finalized before I can finalize the length of the back end of the engines, because those are kind of like they tie hand in hand with each other, because we have to get the proportions right. Alright, we're about caught up now on both sides, looking pretty good. Telling you, I love the shape of the engines there in the front, they're looking awesome. Now you have to envision it, because we're gonna we'll doll it up when we come in and detail it. So you have to just envision the shape of it and imagine the detailing that we're going to come in to add later that's going to help us to bring the ship to life. So anyway, we're done working on the engines for a little bit. We're going to be transitioning over to the shelf that the bridge is going to sit on. And we're going to be doing a row of half slabs going all the way around the shelf, going with the cut line. So instead of having one row, now we're going to have 2 rows. I know it's been a little while since we've worked on this area. I've been trying to make it a point, believe it or not, to when I start working on a section of the ship, I try to finish it all together so this way we can just move on. But it's just going to be one of those things with building, at least for me anyway. Sometimes you just got to take a break from working on certain areas because maybe something's not coming out the way that you want it to, and you're just kind of spinning your tires and you're not getting anywhere with it. This is why I say the best thing you can do when that's happening and you're not sure what to do is just take a break from it and work on something else, let it marinate, come back to it at a later point with a set of fresh eyes. I'm telling you, just doing that step alone, it helps, believe it or not. At least it does for me, because what I'll do in the meantime is I'll kind of think about it here and there as far as what I want to do, but I won't focus on it too much. I'll pretty much just try to take a break from it, and then I come back to it at a later point, and it's like, okay, well, what's not working about this, and what do I need to do to make it work? Sometimes that answer is very clear, sometimes not so much. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go up with a cut line with a white quartz half slabs and then do a row of 3. That one block just did not want to delete. And to fix this, we're going to have to come out now, fix our template, go with the cut. For whatever reason, I didn't like that, but that's maybe what I should have done, going with the half slabs to blend that in more. Anyway, we'll come back to that. Now we're just going to continue on our shelf. We're going to add another row, but we're going to do full blocks going all the way around with our cut line. So this is technically the 3rd row if you're going by half slabs. And some of you might be thinking, like, why are you using this shade of gray for this area of the ship? Because Voyager doesn't really have it. And just to be perfectly honest with you, for me, this was just dealer's choice. I wanted to add in just a little bit more flavor and a little bit more color to Voyager. And to be honest with you, it was a hard thing to do, trying to figure out where I could do it to where it looked good and it didn't take away from Voyager herself. Because that is one of the downsides with Voyager, or even like the Enterprise D. When you get past the Aztecing, there's not a lot of detail on the ship and not a ton of color either. It's actually very, very minimal. But I think this, for Minecraft, I think it actually works fairly well. Alright, so now we're going to come back to the center. We're going to go up one with a cut and do another row of 3 with the quartz half slabs. And we're literally just continuing on the same process. We're following our pattern of 3. So the gray needs to come up a row, basically. Now what I want to do is I want to zoom out, take a look at it, see how it looks. It's not looking too bad. I was basically trying to decide if I wanted to add a 4th row. Undecided at that point. At this point. And don't worry about the sides, we will get that blended in at a later point. I'm more focused on the very middle area of this ship right now. Because that part in the neck, it does kind of rise up a little bit, but my version is just a little bit too streamlined. It should be coming back out a little bit more than what mine, way mine is right now. But, you know, it's not going to look bad. We'll get there. Because believe it or not, once we get in the area to build out the bridge, that's not going to be too difficult. We're not going to be spending a ton of time spinning our wheels in that area, but this area right here, we're going to put a little bit of time into getting that area a little bit better than where it's presently at. All things considered, I still think that we're making steady progress on Voyager. I'm pretty happy with the progress that we're making. So the thing what I'm going to do now, we're going to continue on with our shelf here. We're going to do another row of half slabs. We're going to try this out. We're going to do this row going all the way around with our cut line. Some of you might notice I set these rules in place for myself. I'm identifying what I'm doing. And I'm trying to go over that in detail with you guys. So when you start to do this on your own, believe it or not, this is gonna, like, it's really gonna help you. And you might be surprised because you might end up doing this stuff without even realizing that you're doing it. At least that's kind of what's happened for me a little bit. It just kind of become second nature for me, and I just kind of do it on the fly without even realizing it. But I tell you, most of the time, going with your cut, man, it works wonders. It really, really does. We might be approaching the top level of our shelf here because we don't want to make this super big. This is one of the areas we need to be a little bit careful with that. We might have to come back and make some adjustments. If we do, it's not a big deal. But I'm going to try to add another row or two to see how that looks. But this area on Voyager does come out a little bit more than the rest of the ship, so I'm really trying to convey that and bring that out in this area because I'm going back, I'm looking at my reference material and comparing it. We're getting more of that arch here in this area that I'm looking for, but it's just pulled forward a little bit. But the look, it's getting there. She's really starting to look good. Other than this part right here, we are going to fix that, I promise. But if you can envision this part being fixed, and then envision the bridge on here, I mean, this is overall, I mean, the shapes, they're starting to line up. They really are. She's looking, I can't be happier with the progress that we've made so far. Anyway, we're going to come back and we're going to be making an adjustment here to the length of the front end of our pylons. I've rewinded it so that you guys can see my cutting point. Going right off this cut line right here. We're going to be doing a row of 3, going with the cut. This is what we're going to do. Everything going forward, we're going to get rid of that. And now I've got my cut line. I'm going to go straight across and this is going to be my starting point on this side as well. Going with a cut, pattern of 3. Once you do this, you're going to delete all the access going forward, and then we're going to rebuild the front of the pylons just as they were, but now it's just going to be a little bit shorter. They're a little bit too thick right now. But I think that's going to wrap it up for me today. We've gotten a ton of work done this week, and I'm very excited to get through the rest of this build. Can't wait to show you guys some of the stuff that's going to be coming up. But with that being said, if you have any comments regarding today's episode or any questions, drop a comment below. Definitely love hearing from everybody. If there are any builds that you want to see, you can also drop a comment below, or you can join the Discord and go under the build suggestion tab. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for me today. I just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And yeah, that's going to do it for me today. I just want to thank you all, and I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Post your pictures in the Discord. We would love to see them.